Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. If you're new here, welcome. We talk about movies. It's a great time. If you're an already subscriber, welcome back. And if you're not a subscriber, make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button. If you guys love talking about movies, this is the great place for you. I love talking about movies. I have a new video coming out every single day. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. But without further ado, we are continuing the Quentin Tarantino series. We're actually almost done because we did a couple of them from Leonardo DiCaprio series we did earlier this year. So we actually have two more after this. Three more because I have one to film today. So yeah, we're really pushing along. But today we're going to talk about Kill Bill Volume 2. Kill Bill Volume 2 was released in 2004, and it was written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, of course. And this is a follow-up to the first one, so spoilers for the first movie. If you haven't seen it yet, there will be no spoilers for the second movie, although I think it's pretty obvious what happens. Well, they pick up immediately after, well, technically it's a prequel, kind of. There's a prequel, sort of. It's a very flashbacky movie, which brings me to one of my first negatives of the film, which it's very flashbacky, right? We have a lot of, weird, jumps back, forward, lots of really strange techniques for film that I honestly don't think he needed to use. I think Quentin Tarantino's stories are great, but I think a lot of his movies so far, I can say with experience, are kind of showy. They kind of just show off techniques that I honestly don't think help the film. That's kind of how I feel sometimes about Scorsese, but I think that his films are a little bit better than Tarantino's, in my opinion. But I feel like the issue that I'm having is they do it for no reason. We go back and we see all these, we see a lot of past and backstory that honestly doesn't really matter, because we don't care a whole lot about the villains' backstories, mainly because we only care about the bride here. That's all we really care about. We care about this girl who is trying to go on this revenge track. And that's great. I like the idea that it's just being a revenge track movie. I can dig that. That's great. But when you're throwing backstories for villains that honestly don't really matter, it kind of just lengthens the film and makes me not want to watch it even more. There are some good things about the film. I love there's a scene where one of the characters is buried alive and this character has to dig themselves out. That is a very good scene. I love that scene. And then it kind of goes to a flashback that actually works. They're like, okay, how is this person going to get out of here? Well, let's show a fast flashback to how this person learned and then go back. And I thought that was really smart. But then there were other ones where they're like, oh, well, let's show you a little bit about this backstory for this character real quick. And we'll waste 20 minutes on that and then come back. And it's like, we don't really need all of that. But when you do use these techniques to their advantage, I think it works very well. For instance, in this sequence where we have the person buried alive, I think it's a great idea to put them there and be like, okay, we don't know what's going to happen here. Take 20 minutes, learn how this person learned to this thing, and then come back to this part where we're like, oh yeah, I forgot she's buried alive. How's she going to get out of here? And it's really, really cool. I appreciated that. I think the ending overall is very, very anticlimactic, although a little obvious. Coming to the beginning or the end of the first movie, we know that her daughter is alive. So it's we're pretty obvious what's going to happen from the beginning to the end of this film. It's very, very obvious. And the fighting's pretty cool. I like the end fighting sequence. I think it's really cool. Well, it's not really the end. It's sort of the end. But it's a pretty cool fighting sequence regardless. I think it had a lot of really cool techniques in terms of the filming that worked to the advantage of the fight scene. I think that worked really, really well. But for the most part, we didn't need all these fancy techniques, but the ending did feel very obvious and very long and really, really, really anticlimactic. It gets to the part and you're like, and I guess we're done? And then it's just done. It's just over. And it's cool. I like the ending. That's the problem. I like it, but it felt so anticlimactic. I honestly think that this would have been better if it was filmed as one movie and not two different movies. I don't really know why it was for two. Maybe it's for money. I don't know. It definitely only needed to be one movie. It could have been one movie and made it 3.5 hours, cut out half of the backstory stuff. Would have been mint. That would have been Quentin Tarantino's, that's what he does. He's yep, 3.5 hours, 4 hours long, that's my crap, and it's great. But this one, they're two movies? Sure, why not? I didn't think it needed two movies at all. In terms of its predecessor, I think it is worse than its predecessor. I think that the Kill Bill Volume 1 was at least more fun, had a lot more awesome fight sequences, and had a mystery that needed to be solved that, quite frankly, is really quickly solved in the second one without issue. It was super easy, and like they didn't have to go through all of the work that I think they did for the first film. And I think that getting rid of that main source of mystery kind of shakes the whole movie up, right? It's like, why would you watch a mystery movie if you already know the ending? It's kind of how I felt about this movie. And that isn't to say that there isn't redeeming qualities, as there is. I think I love this. A lot of the scenes, particularly with the very live sequence, I think was great. A few of the characters that were really, really cool. There's a fight sequence with the person who only has one eye. Love that sequence. Really, really cool. But I just feel like the whole movie was very obvious and, quite frankly, did not need to be made. And so with all this being said, I think it's fine. I think it's an okay sequel. But I personally think the first one is much, much better. So I'm going to give Kill Bill Volume 2 a C+. Not too bad. I don't think it's Quentin Tarantino's worst movie so far. But it is pretty far from my favorite. Very far from my favorite. But yeah, I think it's fine. It is available, at least as of right now, on HBO Max. So if you want to check it out, it is there. I do recommend watching the first one first if you do plan on watching the sequel, just because it will make more sense to you in terms of chronological order. Although there's flashback sequences in all of them, so it's like, what is the point? But thank you guys so much for watching, and we're continuing the Quentin Tarantino series next week. With Death Proof. So if you're interested in watching that, make sure you're subscribing. We're almost done with this series. I will announce now, I think, what I plan to do afterwards. So we have Death Proof next week, and the following week we have Inglourious Bastards. Then I'm taking 2 weeks off for just this thing, where I'm going to have I have a Kingsman series. I'm going to watch Kingsman 1 and Kingsman 2 on the 18th and 19th of August. I'm watching Candyman on the 26th to get prepared for the new Candyman movie. And then we have The Hateful Eight on the 2nd of September, and then that's it. We're done. We're going to start a new series on the 23rd of September, where we're going to be watching every single Jim Carrey movie ever made. It's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be crazy. So if you're interested in that, make sure you guys are subscribing. It'll be a huge, huge help. I'm really excited to start that series. Like, truly, truly I am. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you guys are subscribing. And as always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.